ABC Radio.
President Trump is expected to visit his administration's latest immigration detention center in the Florida Everglades, nicknamed Alligator Alcatraz. White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt says the location was chosen by design.
Well, look, when you have illegal murderers and rapists and heinous criminals in a detention facility surrounded by alligators, yes, I do think that's a deterrent for them to try to escape.
Leavitt then pointed to an escape at a New Jersey detention facility earlier this month. Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney said trade talks with the U.S. have resumed after Canada rescinded its plan to tax U.S. technology firms.
Canada said it will resume trade talks with the U.S. after the Canadian government said it wouldn't move forward with the digital services tax. That tax was estimated to cost U.S. tech companies billions of dollars. President Trump last week called the tax a, quote, direct and blatant attack and said he would end all trade talks with Canada over it, even signaling he would announce new tariff rates on Canada in the next week. There is currently a 25% tariff on some goods from Canada, as well as 50% tariffs on steel and aluminum. Karen Travers, ABC News, the White House.
A federal judge in Tennessee today ruled Kilmar Abrego Garcia will stay in jail for now as he awaits trial on human smuggling charges. Abrego Garcia's attorneys had asked to delay his release out of concern he could be deported before trial. I'm Stephanie Officer, ABC News.
Oh no, stomach issues again?
Stomach issues?
Who are you?
Your pancreas. I could be the real reason for your diarrhea, gas, bloating, stomach pain, or loose oily stools.
I thought it was my stomach.
People often do, but any of these symptoms could mean having a condition called exocrine pancreatic insufficiency, or EPI. With EPI, the pancreas doesn't release enough enzymes to break down food, but EPI is manageable. Use the symptom checker on identifyepi.com and speak with your doctor. That's identifyepi.com. Sponsored by AbbVie.
News Talk 610 AM and 102.1 FM. KVNU.
5:05 now on this Monday afternoon, and with your KVNU News headlines, I'm Will Feelright. A terrifying Sunday morning for many Hiram residents after two people were found dead inside a home following a SWAT standoff. Law enforcement responded about 5 a.m. yesterday morning after a man reportedly called 911 claiming that he had killed his wife, sending photos of himself with what appeared to be a bomb vest. Now, neighbors like Rachel Riley described waking to the sound of gunfire, while David Mars, who just lives a few trailers down from the incident, said that his brain was running and he was shaking as he heard the shots. Now, Cache County officials confirmed two people were found dead inside the home, but have not yet identified them. The suspect is described as a 45-year-old man, allegedly, who had began shooting at SWAT officers when they arrived on the scene, and officers returning fire. Meanwhile, a man is in critical condition, and two major highways were shut down after a shooting and police pursuit that happened at the Salt Lake City International Airport last night. Salt Lake City police say that dispatchers received a call around 10:45 of a tow truck driver who reported a 44-year-old man had shot at him multiple times near North Redwood Road and West North Temple. Now, the suspect allegedly fled the scene, continuing to fire. Officers located the suspect's vehicle and attempted to pull it over. Police say the man refused to stop and continued shooting from his car, striking at least three patrol vehicles. Now, the pursuit ended on eastbound Interstate 80 when police performed a pit maneuver, disabling the suspect's vehicle. He was taken into custody and transported to a hospital in critical condition. Meanwhile, Utah health officials are reporting an increase in measles cases, with the statewide total now at 7. The Utah Department of Health and Human Services announced 2 new confirmed cases on Friday. Now, both individuals were unvaccinated. One of the new cases was linked to a previously diagnosed patient. Now, measles symptoms typically appear about 7 to 14 days after exposure, and they can include a high fever, often above 102 degrees Fahrenheit, along with a cough, red and irritated eyes, and a runny nose. Of course, a characteristic rash usually appears about 4 days after the fever begins. And Utah Senator Mike Lee has withdrawn a controversial provision that would have put millions of acres of federally managed public land up for sale. Lee announced the decision over the weekend, citing what he said was his inability to secure safeguards to guarantee that the land would be sold only to American families. Now, the withdrawn provision would have included iconic areas up Logan, Green Canyon here in Cache Valley, along with Big and Little Cottonwood Canyons, and also land near Utah's national parks. Now, Lee had argued that the sales could help address the housing crisis, calling federal land a massive underutilized asset. But many critics, like Perry Hall of Backcountry Hunters and Anglers, had questioned whether the land would truly be used for affordable housing. Well, we've had hot temperatures again today and tonight. It's going to drop into only around the mid to high 50s, and then we'll be back into the mid to high 90s for tomorrow. Sunny, clear skies continuing into Wednesday, when we'll start to see some clouds and a small chance of some showers. That will continue Thursday and into July 4th. And weather this hour is part of the news brought to you by Dr. Keith Nilsson. For 27 years now, he has been helping to eliminate people's pain from sports injuries, arthritis, and knee pain. Find out what he can do for you. Visit drkeithnilsonortho.com. And with your Monday afternoon headlines, I'm Will Fiore.
Today's hearing aid technology can improve not only your life, but the lives of the people who care about you. Once again, you'll be able to hear the reason for their laughter and understand conversations. Dr. Paul Danes will customize a hearing improvement program to meet your unique requirements, whatever they are. Call Dr. Danes for an appointment at 753-HERE and let him show you how.
Bring back what you've been missing. Bring back Cache Valley Hearing and Audiology.
The Above and Beyond Salute, sponsored by Firehouse Subs, recognizing first responders and other deserving individuals in our community. Friday mornings at 8:30 on News Talk KVNU.
Get your cooling fixed, call Gary Riggs. Get your AC fixed, call Gary Riggs. If you're having cooling problems, we're here to get them fixed. Just pick up the phone and call Gary Riggs. 435-512-6633. We'll come to you. Our service fee is low, just $25. We repair all brands and have certified installers. Get your cooling fixed, call Gary Riggs. Get your AC fixed, call Gary Riggs.
The votes are in, and the people have spoken. It's the 2025 Best of Northern Utah, presented by Alpine Cleaning and Restoration. A record-breaking number of votes decided this year's gold and silver winners. Want to see who came out on top? Pick up your free copy of the Winners Magazine at locations all over Cache Valley or online at bestofnorthernutah.com. Let's celebrate the best and support all our amazing local businesses. Shop local. Love local.
Best of Northern Utah.
For the people. Hour 2 of today's show. 2 degrees hotter here at the start of the second hour of the show than it was when we started the show. 91 degrees at 5:11 in the afternoon. Going to get a little warmer, then a little cooler, and then tiny itty bitty chance of precipitation over the weekend. And then it gets warmer again. So it is summer. It's fireworks season coming up later on the show. In hour 1, you heard from Logan Fire Marshal Craig Humphreys on some of his tips and tricks from his years of experience on how to not burn your neighbor's house down or melt your garage door or, all of the things that he's seen. Coming up here in hour 2, the second half of the hour, we'll hear from a new Cache County Fire Marshal on what county restrictions you can expect based on the lay of the land out there, what they're seeing in those unincorporated areas especially. So that's coming up second half of this hour. Here in hour 1, though, to start us off, hour 2 to start us off, we are sitting down again with candidate for mayor and current Logan City Council member Mark Anderson. And Mark, I set this up in hour 1 by saying one of my favorite things, I was kind of running down memory lane a little bit. I remember not as a radio show host at the time, but as a resident. I remember when Darla Clark ran for mayor.
Yeah.
Her campaign was about one thing, and then voters just said, nope, you're going to talk about the budget. And then I remember Randy Watts in I think it was his second his second, when he ran for his second term.
Right.
I remember he wanted to talk about something, and voters said, nope, you're going to talk about the sewer system and infrastructure. Yeah. And this is what I love about municipal races, is that voters get to kind of, at Mayor Danes as well, I remember she wanted to talk about a lot of things, and everybody said, nope, downtown.
Yeah, we're talking about that.
We want to talk about that third south corner. That's all anyone wanted to talk about.
It's almost like
third north.
It's almost like having a customer base, and the customer base dictates what you're going to sell. You can say, I think you should buy this, but if they don't really want to,
no, we want you to make
say
this.
We want this. It's like, all right, they kind of dictate the market a little bit, and I think it's the same way with the city too. It's like there's certain things that people want to talk about, and that they're concerned about. And it's like what I'm hearing right now is like, when are we going to fix Main Street?
Really?
It's like Main Street.
Is that what's popping up the most?
That's a big topic, and UDOT has been putting together a plan for quite some time. They've got input from not just Logan, but they've got input from all the communities around Logan that are impacted by Highway 89, 91. And so they've spent a lot of time.
So we all drive it, right?
Yeah, and they've got input from from really Nibley and Providence, but also from North Logan and Hyde Park and Smithfield, and and not just the city and the city staff either, but they've actually gotten out into the community and they've talked to people about what are some of the solutions we can work with. So they've really spent a lot of time, and they've spent a lot of money trying to study this and figure out what's going to work the best. And it would be really nice if I could just talk to people and go, look, if we follow exactly what UDOT says, it's going to fix Main Street and it's going to be just like it was 30 years ago.
Sure.
And that's not going to happen. I mean, it's not a realistic expectation, is that traffic is going to get so much better.
It's only going to get so much better, right?
From what UDOT has told us, if we do what they are suggesting we implement, and that's doing parallel corridors on basically on First East and on Second East.
Now you're there a lot already, right?
Yeah,
on the parallel
a lot
corridors.
of this is kind of already happened. We just need a couple connectors to make it all work. And then parallel corridors on First West and on Second West, and connectors for those as well too.
Sure.
And they're saying that if we do that, it will impact the traffic on Main Street more than if we put 7 lanes in on Main Street.
That makes sense.
So we put more lanes on Main Street. It actually makes it worse.
We've seen this on the freeway, right?
Yeah,
they add a lane to the freeway for a year or two. It's
okay, and then it just fills right back up again. So they're telling us if we add more lanes to Main Street, it's going to make it worse. So we're going to try and encourage people to not drive on Main Street, and by doing these parallel corridors, they're telling us that we can maintain the traffic we've got on Main Street right now at its current rate, and hopefully not have it get any worse.
And now that's a very realistic goal considering the population projections.
I think it is too. The only way we improve traffic on Main Street is we get people out of their cars.
Yeah.
And get them off the road.
Which, I mean, eventually, I think as population continues to grow, you might see that sort of happen organically, naturally, because every other city that has gotten to a certain size has seen that.
Well,
but you still have to plan for now, but also for the potential future. You still have to plan the roadways, right?
Yeah, and Logan's really investing a lot of time and effort into doing bike lanes to try and get people out of their cars and into a bicycle, so you actually feel safe driving on the road, which is also a concern. It's like I try and ride my bike to work as much as possible as soon as the weather gets halfway decent. So most of the time I'm riding my bike to work, and I've literally got 2 miles from my house to get to work. I can get there in like 8 minutes.
That's nice.
On my bicycle. Yeah, it's great. It's great. There's some days where it's like, okay, I got to have the truck today because I'm hauling this, I'm moving this, and that's not very realistic.
Or there's 6 feet of snow
on a bicycle.
on the
yeah,
road.
But it's like I have left my car home so far this summer at least as many times, if not more, than I've driven it.
Sure.
And I've been riding my bike to work too. And there's some days where I feel like I'm kind of taking my life in my hands going, down Main Street. It's like, I think I'm just going to not do that.
And UDOT's kind of been paying attention to this too, right? They call it intermodal.
Yes.
That's the word they're using, right? So when they're planning now, it's not just for cars, they're planning for multiple forms
this is a integral part of the plan that they're putting together right now is not just the cars on Main Street, but how do we accommodate pedestrians? How do we accommodate people on bicycles? How do we accommodate some micro mobility options, whether that's a scooter or the skateboard things? I can't remember what they're called. Yeah.
I
know. I'm just like scratching my head going, what is that called? Kind of a unicycle type thing, but they are trying to incorporate that in to try and, it's crazy. You see people with the e-bikes cruising around and that's like a motorcycle.
Yeah, basically, it's a very quiet motorcycle.
A really quiet motorcycle. So it's like, okay, how do we incorporate that in? Because they're becoming more and more and more popular. It's clean. You're outside. You're enjoying the environment. And
I think the e-bike expands your options for cycling to work or cycling to get groceries or something because you can travel faster, easier, or further easier.
So I have a pedal assist bike. I keep mine on eco mode, so it's a better workout for me that way.
You have to pedal a bit.
I got to pedal, like not just a little bit. I mean, you got to pedal.
Yeah,
but it does really help if you're going up a pretty steep hill. It
kicks in and gives you a little.
It really gives you a little boost, so you're not like sweating by the time you get home. But I actually really enjoy riding my bike to work. It's awesome. It's nice and cool in the morning. If we can get more people to do that, and we're not just one person per vehicle.
Yeah,
it's the one person per vehicle that has filled up Main Street and filled up all of our other streets. Is because if you look how many people are driving and you start counting, I'll bet there's 1 out of 10 that has more than 2 people in it.
That is, speaking of this is totally kind of related, but a bit off topic. I think Logan City and other cities, remember the aggressive anti-idling campaigns in the wintertime?
Which we still promote.
I think cities need to team up with social media, Instagram probably first and foremost, and get them to run ads on not idling because I've watched. I've watched in some parking lots recently, and I think it's just habit. We come out, myself included, I've done this. You come out of the store, you start your car, you flip the AC on, and then you just think, well, I'll just look for it really quick. And then 10 or 15 minutes
later, you're sitting in the car still.
I really think we have an idling problem again due to that alone.
It's not just wintertime idling; it's like summertime idling as well too.
Now it's 24/7 with.
But that's what I'm hearing from people is
that's
like
interesting.
Traffic on Main Street is a high priority for people, and UDOT's plan is not so much let's try and pull people off of Main Street. It's more, let's try and get citizens of Logan options so they don't have to drive on Main Street. Sure. And if you do that, then all of a sudden a portion of your traffic on Main Street is not there anymore.
Sure.
And so it will alleviate that. But a good portion of our traffic that is on Main Street is not from Logan. They're from the south part of the valley, or they're from the north part of the valley, and they're going to work, or they're going to school, or they're going through. Yeah. And so if we can get a lot of our citizens to use some of these other options, like if we get that intersection done right there at the Y on South Main,
that's going to be huge.
700 South Main, and I think
between the realignment and the pedestrian underpass,
the mayor mentioned the other day that I think we got funding from UDOT to do that.
Very nice.
And so what it will do is it will make it so that when like I live on Canyon Road, so I'm right down close to First Dam, right below the university, right there on the island.
Also, you're currently experiencing some of the construction
the traffic.
season.
Yeah. But if I'm coming home from Salt Lake, like say I'm down there for a conference or whatever, and I come back, I'll hit that intersection and it won't be a Y anymore, but I'll be able to actually go from there over to First East.
Really?
Yeah. And then I can go along First East. And then if we do that other connector, I could actually get over to Second East and I'd never touch Main Street.
Okay.
And I get to my house faster than if I go on Main Street with less traffic.
That is...
That's a perfect example of how it would take a person like me that lives on the island and coming home from Salt Lake, I would never have to drive on Main Street. Yeah.
That is an interesting realignment. Is that going to require property acquisitions, or are they already?
It's going to require some property acquisition.
Okay.
So hopefully, and this is the other issue. We can't do all these fixes without help from the state. Without help from UDOT.
Speaking of those acquisitions,
we have to have the help from UDOT because we can't afford to do it on our own. And so we've got to have that help. But like my business is on basically on First West. It's on Center Street, but we're close to First West, so my access is there. So if I do have to drive to Salt Lake, I don't even touch Main Street either. It's like I just go on First West. And to be honest, First West is my favorite street in town now. It's like so great.
I've noticed the same thing. So I'm out of Logan, not a Logan resident, through commuter, and whether it's running for groceries or throughout my workday headed north to south, to meet with different clients, I've noticed that I was taking Main Street out of habit.
Yeah, exactly.
And so I started experimenting a little bit.
Right.
And wow, I've found. Now I'm at a point where I take Main Street by choice because there are times when I think, I'm going to drive down Main Street, see what's going on in downtown Logan as I head out of town. But it's by choice now. And that was a surprise to me to learn that that's possible.
Yeah. So like anytime I can take First West at 25 miles an hour and you just go straight through all the way to the highway.
There is a psychological thing with that,
and if
right?
you really want to go to McDonald's, it's just like it's like a straight shot to McDonald's for a Coke and a fry.
There is a bit of a psychological thing with that, where in our minds we think 25 miles an hour. Oh, it's too slow. I'm not taking that road. But 25 miles an hour with fewer stops is compared to 35 with lots of stops.
Yeah, it's way better. It's way better. And there's something psychological about it too. Like if you go 25 to 30 miles an hour and you just like don't have to stop at every stoplight, it just seems like you're going somewhere way faster instead of
and you are
40 miles an hour stop, 40 miles an hour stop, 40 miles an hour stop. It's like that doesn't make sense, and that's what UDOT's trying to alleviate. So that you can just really go without stop. Because the more you stop, the less efficient your vehicle is too. Sure. So the fewer stops we have, it's better for our environment as well too.
You're
so
burning less fuel and you're getting there a bit more quickly.
Yeah.
And so this is part of. I know the mayor has mentioned this, but your work on the council, the whole council's work, has been on this front. So UDOT controls Main Street for the most part.
Yes.
But Logan can provide a lot of input. But so some careful planning has gone into being able to go to UDOT and say, here's what needs to happen. And now UDOT has said, okay, we get it. We hear you.
Yep, absolutely.
But that planning had to happen within the city, right? To go and say to UDOT, this is where we need to go with this.
Yep. And then UDOT said, okay, let's put some money aside. And then they got that funded through the state to do the study that has come forward and said, look, here's 8 options that you should really explore to alleviate some of this traffic, not just like right now, but in the next 10 to 20 years. So this is like a 20-year master plan. And if we can get help from UDOT to help with some of the roundabouts, because there's some roundabouts that we're looking at doing between First and Second West, which would really help kind of link those together.
That would make sense.
We've got this intersection at the Y, at about 700 South on Main Street. There's a couple other intersections on First and Second East, that would kind of link that together. I mean, these are kind of expensive fixes.
Sure.
It's like we can't.
But they're also one time.
It's a one time. It's a one timer.
That's one benefit I see. Logan City, and maybe you can speak to that a little bit, both as a candidate for mayor, but also as a longtime council member now. Logan is lucky in that perspective that there are some big expenses when it comes to transportation and traffic to get us to where we can absorb the future. But Logan is lucky in that a lot of these are very much one-time expenses. Once the roundabout's there, once the road is completed, once the First West, once that bridge was done, and then you're good to go for.
You've got maintenance expenses, just to maintain. But for those big expenses, the bridge on First West. That's a great example.
It was very expensive, but man, worth it.
Yeah. And did you know that
I say selfishly.
Yeah, did you know that our engineer that was in charge of that project got an amazing award from the state for the work that she did on that?
Oh,
we gave that to her like a month and a half ago, awarded it to her at City Council. She was recognized specifically for the work that she did on that project.
That is an amazing
project.
project.
Outstanding work they did. It was a difficult project because you had to figure out how to get water and sewer and lines underneath the bridge to cross over. So it was a lot more complicated than just a bridge.
And it was done a lot sooner than I thought it would be. In fact, I remember when Mayor Daines announced it was open, I was surprised. But now that is, as a South Ender, that is one of my preferred routes. Whether I'm coming here to the station, whether I'm leaving Logan, and that's an example of what you're talking about, right? These big expenses that are big, but they're one time, and then you have all these alternatives. This is so as mayor. So you've got people listening now, and they're it's still early in the race, and they're looking at these municipal races, and weighing the candidates as we all do. As mayor, what would you do is there one specific thing that and I know it doesn't work this way, but if it worked this way, if there was like a magic wand that a mayor got to wave and make one thing the top priority transportation wise, I know, like I say, I know the mayor doesn't get to do that.
It would be great, and a lot of times the mayor, when they run for election, they're like, well, I'm going to do this, I really want to do this. And my big goal is we are currently in the middle of working on the master plan for the next 20 to 30 to 40 years. I mean, basically for Logan.
Sure.
And the master plan is not just input from elected officials and city staff. It's from the community as well, too.
Sure.
And if you haven't participated in the surveys that have been out, you need to participate in the surveys. Please participate in the surveys because it will take the input that we get from all of our citizens and all of our businesses. And the company that's running this study, they have invited specific shareholders in the community to come and participate and got their input. But it's going to take city staff and elected officials' input and our residents' input. And here we get this master plan. If I could wave my magic wand over the master plan, that's what I would want to implement. It's like, why would I want to do anything different?
So basically take the results.
Take the results because it's what our citizens have asked for, as well as the needs of what staff has identified as being needs for the future. Why would I want to divert from that plan?
Makes sense.
I mean, logically to me, I'm just going, okay, why would I start making up stuff going, okay, Mark wants to do this. This would be really cool.
Sure.
If it fits in with the master plan, then it makes sense. But if I'm saying we need to do this and it's not part of the master plan, well, now I've just discounted all the information that we receive from our residents and also the information that we just received from staff, and I'm just making up stuff.
Makes sense.
It's like, why would I not take that document that has all this input from all these different sources that's saying these are the most important things that we need to work on? What I need to do as a mayor is look at those things and say, okay, reasonably, we can do this and this and this. We can afford to do this. It's not going to break our budget. I mean, because
you build like a priorities list based on
that's exactly what I want to do. Is like, okay, we're going to take this master plan. Okay, this is priority 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Let's try and do that this year. And if not, 4 and 5 are getting done next year.
And a lot of this, you're going to have to go to the state too,
we're going to have to get
and
help.
Say, okay, we'd like to do this.
Right.
What can we do?
Because what UDOT has suggested for Main Street and for First and Second, East and West is, it's going to take some time and we're going to need their help. And so, it's going to be high on the priority list, but it's like, okay, let's go to the state and let's get some extra funding. Let's get, our shareholders together and figure it out. And, those are the things that I really, really want to focus on because it's like, why would I diverge from the plan when our citizens, our residents have been an integral part of building that plan. And if I just ignore it, I'm just ignoring what everybody just told us for the last year. It's like that just makes no sense to me. So if there's stuff that I would like to do, I want to make sure it fits in with our master plan.
Sure. That is a great approach. I like that. And For listeners, just a quick note, you can connect with Mark's campaign for mayor at makeyourmarkformayor.com. I've linked to that on our Facebook page. I've also linked to the Logan survey on the master plan.
Oh, good.
Mark mentioned there.
I need
to
put that on the website because it's critical.
Critical for residents to weigh in on that.
It's critical that people participate.
You can also connect with his campaign on Facebook and Instagram and more. And Mark, this is an unfair question with just a couple of minutes left here, but a listener wants to know if there are any specific updates on the new water line. I assume they mean that line.
The one that's right by my house.
Yeah,
the one that's right past my house.
Work has begun, right?
So they have started on that. And what they're doing right now is there's a road closure from about Herms Inn to the water lab right now. And that's because they are putting an overflow drain from the tank so that if the tank starts to get too much water in it, it just goes right back into the river.
Okay.
Yeah. So they're going to have to cut through the road and
go underneath
and put that, but it will take any excess water and we'll put it right back into the river.
That's nice.
Yeah. Yeah. So this is not an emergency, but it's like it's an excess valve. Yeah. So it's really important.
Very nice.
By the end of this summer, the new 10 million gallon water tank will be done.
That quickly.
Oh, wow. And then next year through the summer, starting early in the spring, then they'll do the reconstruction of Canyon Road as they put the line in.
The actual pipeline.
Yeah. Yeah. And I walked the entire both sides of the street yesterday.
Really?
With my wife. And we looked at it and looked at where some of the problem areas might be. And we looked at, everybody's property and how the approaches will work and how it could change some things and how it could affect some of my neighbors. I mean, we walked it. We spent 2 hours last night when it was cool and nice. And we walked all of Canyon Road and looked at it. And I've got a couple neighbors I got to talk to.
Oh,
yeah.
Sure.
I'm just like looking at it going,
you can see what's going to happen
like,
this is going
to be probably not what they really like. And so it's like, let's go take a look at it and see.
That's great to check with them in advance.
I'm going to lose 3 trees in front of my house because that's right where the sidewalk's going to potentially be, so
as that
like,
shifts.
Yeah.
Right?
But, and I look at it and it's like, okay, but I'll have an 8-foot park strip in front of my house and I'm probably going to get like 7 trees back where I lose the 3.
Sure.
So I'm just like,
change is hard, but
it's hard. I know.
It's also hard to turn down water.
But it
water storage, right?
So this is what you got to remember with this water project. The water master plan, which is also part of our city master plan, this will fix our water needs for the next 40 years. And this one fix.
Relatively cheaply when you consider that time frame.
Yeah. So this one thing, by adding the 10 million gallon tank and getting that extra pressure and that bigger line to supply, the areas that we need, it fixes every problem that our staff has identified that could come up in the next 40 years. So
that's good planning.
It's not my favorite plan, but it fixes all the problems and it's causing the least amount of impact to the fewest amount of people that we can possibly create. And then there's no better scenario than that, even though it's very uncomfortable and not the best for everyone.
Sure.
It's the best for everyone.
Long term.
If that makes sense.
No, it does. These things are always hard, especially if you're directly impacted or your yard's directly impacted. But
I'm right on Canyon Road, so it's like we've got as much or more frontage than anybody there that's being impacted by this project.
And I guarantee, knowing you, that you carefully selected those trees you're about to lose.
There's one tree that is a variegated maple that you cannot get right now.
Oh, no.
And it's probably not going to make it. So I'm like, it's going to take me like 5 years to find another one of those. So,
oh, no.
Yeah. That's unfortunate.
Change is hard. Yeah, but water's important.
We'll figure it out.
Water storage, very important. So.
We'll figure it out. So next time we got to talk conservation.
We'll do that.
Yeah, it's important. And, we have plenty of water this year, but other parts of the state don't. And so I think it's better the more we keep educating people.
Yeah.
This is what we really need to do. If you want to get through those very 2 or 3 dry years, this is where we make a difference and we conserve in the years, because then it makes it easier on the harder years for us.
And we're going to have those harder years.
They're going to come.
You know it.
Yeah,
right?
They're going to come no matter what. So
Mark Anderson, the current Logan City Council member and candidate for Logan City Mayor. You can connect with his campaign on Instagram and Facebook, or visit the website Make Your Mark for Mayor. I've linked to that on our Facebook page.
Which also means get out and vote.
Yeah, that is an important part of this. And we'll talk about that as well. The importance of turnout.
Yeah, get out and vote.
That's one thing I'd like to see in this race is high turnout.
Yeah,
in every race.
That is my goal, is that we get higher turnout than we've had for all the other elections in the last,
let's set a record.
5 years. That's what I want.
What we should do.
It's like, get out and vote. And we were talking about before the show, it's like it costs the city every time we do an election. And if you're not voting, you're wasting our taxpayers' dollars.
That is, make it worth the expense, and also show that we're paying attention to more than just the presidential years.
We got to do it,
because these are where the important decisions are made. By the way, these local races. So. Mark Anderson, again, Logan City Council member, candidate for Logan City Mayor. We'll speak with him again soon. And to our listeners, thanks for being here. Stick around. A look at the news now with KVNU's Will Feel Right.
Well, thank you, Jason. In sports news, BYU starting quarterback Jake Retzlaff appears to have played his last snap for the Cougars. ESPN reporting that Retzlaff, a rising fifth-year senior, has begun informing teammates and coaching staff that he plans to transfer. Now, Retzlaff's departure comes as he faces a civil lawsuit filed by a Salt Lake City woman alleging sexual assault. He was widely promoted as BYU's first Jewish starting quarterback and filed a response on Friday denying the allegations and stating that the sexual encounter was consensual. However, Retzlaff, as a BYU student, is subject to the school's honor code, which prohibits premarital sex. And while the university does not comment publicly on specific infractions, past transgressions have led to suspensions for athletes. And coming up tomorrow, a new law in Idaho goes into effect that will criminalize homelessness in 4 of the biggest cities in the state. Now, lawmakers passed Senate Bill 1141 this session, which prohibits camping or sleeping in public places, including in cars. Now, the new law only applies to 4 cities with 100,000 people or more, including Boise, Caldwell, Meridian, and Nampa, and it allows the Attorney General to sue cities that don't follow it. Now, Stephanie Day, who is head of the homeless services organization known as Catch Idaho, says that while legislators might expect that this law encourages people to go to shelters, there are less than 600 beds available in Ada County and more than 2,000 people experiencing homelessness. Now, she says that people typically stay near downtown Boise because that's where they have access to food, medical appointments, and case management services.
Folks are talking about spreading out and going to other locations. So it will be harder for them to access services, and it will be harder for us as a service provider that tries to help folks get connected to resources and get back into housing to find them.
Now, the anti-camping law is going into effect as cities like Boise typically see a rise in homelessness numbers during the summer. Now, wildfire season is also here, and Day says that that's another challenge.
All the folks that will be living outdoors because we don't have alternatives for them, not because they're choosing this, will be exposed to that.
Now, cities that fail to enforce the new law could be subject to civil penalties of up to $10,000. And the body of a deceased female was found under a bush in southern Utah on Friday. Officials with the Iron County Sheriff's Office said the body of a woman was found shortly after 7:30 along Coal Creek in Cedar Canyon. Now, police said the deceased person is a female who is likely around 60 years of age. Her identity has not been publicly shared as officials are notifying family. Well, the cause of the woman's death also has not been released. Now, an investigation is ongoing, but law enforcement say they do not consider her death to be suspicious. Well, it's been in the 90s today, and looks like we're going to stay in the 90s for at least tomorrow and Wednesday, as we'll continue to see clear skies overnight tonight. Temperatures only dropping into the high 50s. Tomorrow, mid to high 90s possible. Then we'll start to see a few clouds on Wednesday, bringing with it a small chance of some moisture. And that chance of moisture will continue through Friday as temperatures will get back into the 80s for our high. And weather, as part of the news here at the bottom of the hour, is brought to you by Cardall's Insulation. You know, proper installation can keep your home's temperature more consistent. Call Cardall's Insulation. They can take care of your home, garage, or attic. It's Cardall's Insulation. And with your Monday afternoon news headlines, I'm Will Feelright.
Discover the comfort of outdoor living this year with a project by Canyon Landscaping. Fresh seasonal planting beds, a custom paver patio perfect for barbecues, and subtle landscape lighting to keep the party going long after sunset, or a place to relax after a long day. Every project is designed around how you live. Professionally installed, on budget and on time. Ready to create the perfect outdoor space? Visit canyonlandscaping.com to view the gallery. Canyon Landscaping. Look for the leaf.
ABC News, I'm Stephanie Officer. The Trump administration announcing it has revoked the U.S. visas for the British band Bob Vylan. Officials saying it's a response to the rappers chanting death, death to the Israeli Defense Forces at the Glastonbury Music Festival in the UK this past weekend. State Department Press Secretary Tammy Bruce.
It really is about our standards, about who we let in the country. That we're not telling people what they can sing about or what they can say. It's not involved here at all. They obviously felt free to say what they were saying and chanting at Glastonbury, and they can do that. And we can do what we do.
An endangered wild Asian horse foal is living its best life thanks to an unlikely savior. Marat the horse fell critically ill soon after its birth at the Minnesota Zoo nearly 2 months ago. Intensive care saved his life, but his mother rejected him when he returned. His future looked grim until Alice, a domestic pony of the Americas who'd recently lost her newborn, accepted him as her own. This is ABC News.
Here's what some of our patients have to say about how Red River has changed their lives.
I went the traditional medicine route, and it was not tailored to me. It was just a one-size-fits-all. It was, this is how you do the program, and it's probably not going to work. That's what everybody always told me along the way, and somebody told me about Red River. They brought me in, they did testing, and everything was catered to my body and what I was actually experiencing, which was incredible.
At Red River Health and Wellness, our whole goal is to identify the underlying mechanisms driving your condition. Once we identify those imbalances, then we'll put a treatment plan together that's specific to you, and then we improve those imbalances one by one, and then slowly teach you and educate you and show you what to do and what not to do so that you're the expert in your own health long term.
I'll never forget the day I woke up and I went about my day and I stopped and I said, I feel completely normal. It really, truly not only helped me save my thyroid, but it gave me my life back.
Call Red River Health and Wellness at 855-55-RIVER.
Call Red River today.
Summer is here, and so are the extra loads of laundry. John at the Duct Hunter says with the kids home, your dryer is working overtime. Make sure it's running efficiently by having your dryer vent clean. You'll enjoy faster drying times, better energy efficiency, and a longer lifespan for your dryer. Call the Duct Hunter today for a free quote, 435-770-4813. Breathe easier, dry faster, save more.
I'm Larry Gelwicks, the Getaway Guru, with Morris Columbus Travel and Apple Vacations, with double discounts on your air and hotel packages to the sunny beaches of Hawaii and Mexico, to Europe and the Caribbean, and you save like never before. And for the best travel deals on the planet, give us a call at Morris Columbus Travel.
Come on and get away, Morris Columbus.
Welcome back to KVN News for the People. Thanks again to Mark Anderson, current city council member and candidate for Logan City Mayor. Mayor Holly Dane saying she will not seek another term. Says it's time for her to kind of relax and step back a little bit after years and years on the council and now 2 terms as mayor. Mark Anderson was the first to throw his hat in the ring to take up the mayor mantle. Next, you can connect with his campaign at makeyourmarkformayor.com and also find his campaign on Facebook and Instagram. Just searching for Mark Anderson for mayor, you'll find him on both sites there. There are other candidates who have filed in this race. Just to let listeners know, I have reached out to those candidates and have not heard back yet, but as soon as we do, we'll invite them on as well. So, fire season, fireworks season, the two go together here in Utah. It's a fun time for celebration. Fireworks are cool. I'll be the first to admit it. But there are some concerns. In hour 1, we revisited our discussion with Logan City Fire Marshal Craig Humphreys on state law and guidelines, and also some tips he has from his own experience. which he put first and foremost, make sure you're blocking up those aerial fireworks because they tip over and then they shoot horizontally. And that's how you burn your neighbor's garage door and end up having to pay for that in addition to the $1,000 fine if you happen to be lighting them off outside of the legal windows and times. And he said that came up a lot more in his time as fire marshal than he expected it would have, that exact scenario. So easy one to avoid, right? Well, there's some additional concerns that you might want to take into account, specifically when it comes to the outer areas of the valley, the drier foothills and more, the unincorporated areas that are increasingly populated with homes as cities annex land and we build out and out. So what are the current restrictions you might want to know about before the fireworks gates open on July 2nd here in the state of Utah? Well, KVNU's Will Philwright had a chance to talk with new Cache County Fire Chief Brady George. Details on restrictions and more.
Well, thank you, Jason. Today marks a changing of the guard for the Cache County Fire District as Chief Rod Hammer is retiring after 27 years in firefighting. And his replacement is our guest this afternoon, Brady George. Now, Brady, thanks so much for joining us. And I'm sure this is a really busy time, especially considering some fire restrictions that just went into effect over the weekend. We'll get to that in just a minute. But for those who are unfamiliar with you, Brady, could you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yes, I've got about 30 years of experience now. I spent about 2 years as a volunteer in Weber County, serving my home community. Really grew to love the fire service as a result of that. I was fortunate enough to spend a little over 27 years in Salt Lake City, working my way through the ranks there. And then the last year and a half prior to this, I was in Idaho, in a very rapidly growing community of Meridian, as their division chief of training, really trying to help them to keep pace with the growth that was occurring up there.
All right, we're talking with Chief Brady George of the Cache County Fire District. And, one of the things that's kind of unique about Cache Valley is you have a blend of both full-time fire departments and then also volunteer fire departments. And as the Cache County Fire District, you kind of oversee and help each other, working with both employees and employed firefighters and volunteers, right?
That's correct. We have a very unique blend of fire service professionals, some that are paid by their citizens to provide that protection, others that do it out of the sheer kindness of their heart and a love for their communities. And we're fortunate enough within the district to be able to work with both of them to provide that service. One of the best things that we do is we help to coordinate the efforts between those two different types of agencies to make sure that the citizens receive the coverage that they deserve.
Cool. So just your first couple of days on the job and getting your feet wet, what do you think so far of Cache Valley?
What an absolutely amazing and beautiful place. We have such a great combination of historical structures, wonderful wildlife and surrounding vegetation, as well as a lot of new and rapidly growing communities that are, once again, trying to keep up with the rate of change within those areas.
Now, you're coming on at a time where it is very challenging for firefighters, I would imagine, as we transition into the summer months. Gets really hot, and of course that's when fire danger, especially in the backcountry, goes up. And can you tell us a little bit about this new fire restriction that just went into effect in the end of June and what that's going to mean for people as they go outside and recreate?
Yeah, the restrictions have really come as a result of both the moisture that we'd seen over the last couple of years, as well as the rapidly decreasing fuel moisture content and the temperatures that have risen over the last month or so. The lack of rain that we've had consistently now for a few weeks has really led to those fuels drying out, and it's presenting quite a hazard. Those tall, very fast-moving grasses that we spend time wandering through as we hike and explore the backcountries present a very real fire danger, not only to the mountainsides, but as well as to the homes that live in that wildland-urban interface.
We were just tallying up the amount of moisture that we received during the month of June, and it was just 0.07 of an inch of rain for the entire month. And a lot of times that would be just from one storm during the fall and the spring and of course, winter too. And so, yeah, you're right. Very, very dry conditions. So with these restrictions that are now going into effect, can you explain to people what they can and cannot do, specifically cannot do if they are going into unincorporated areas of the valley?
Yeah, the simplest way to put it is we can't have any fires of any type outside of an approved and pre-existing basically surround in those areas. That really helps us to keep recreational fires where it should be and make sure that it doesn't have the chance to spread into the beautiful surroundings that we have. There can't be any smoking except in very authorized specific positions. No cutting, welding, or grinding in those places. If you're going to go out and explore with an ATV or a UTV, we ask that has a working and intact spark arrestor on there. And then finally, and sadly, based upon this time of year, no fireworks, no tracer ammunition, and no other pyrotechnic devices of any kind in those unincorporated areas.
Yeah, and primarily when we say unincorporated areas, we're talking mainly, especially out into the county as you get outside of traditional city limits. Is that the best way to describe it?
Yes, that's a great way to describe it. Anywhere that's not well developed within a city limits, as well as the foothills. The foothills are probably our largest concern at this time because of the danger they produce with the fuels that are there.
You know, it was just a couple years ago about this time we had an incident just above Hyde Park, individual who was target practicing and using an exploding target. And that ended up being a fire that took days to put out. Luckily, it didn't get any homes, but the amount of manpower that went into that and the amount of resources, a huge expense. And a lot of times when those fires start like that, you can be held liable.
That's absolutely right. If a fire is started in violation of the restrictions that are here, you can easily face up to 6 months jail time, as well as a $1,000 fine or the cost of actually combating that blaze.
Yeah. And you think of, an army of firefighters putting that out and then factoring in the helicopters and the air tankers who are dropping retardant. That's got to get pricey really, really quick.
The man hours and the resources add up very, very quickly.
So it's likely that these restrictions are going to be in place probably through the entire summer and even possibly into early fall. Is that what you foresee?
Unless there's some significant change in the weather patterns, most likely these will remain in effect throughout the duration of the summer months and the fall. If we continue to stay as dry as we are, there is a chance that those restrictions could actually increase.
Okay. We're talking with new Cache County Fire Chief Brady George. Welcome to the Valley. We're grateful to have you here.
Thank you very much for the welcome.
Thank you, Will, and Chief George for the update there. And there you have it. The restrictions in place now, barring some unforeseen changes to the weather and more, are likely going to be in place into the fall. You can see the map, as Will mentioned there, at the county website. I've linked to that on our Facebook page, and I want to echo Will's words there. Welcome to the new Fire Chief, Mr. George, and thanks to our listeners for being here. Stick around. More to come right after this.
Here's Chad Norton, the lawn doctor, with a tip for your lawn.
Warmer temperatures have both weeds and grass competing for space in your yard. Dandelions, thistle, clover, morning glory will all be kept under better control when you have us applying pre-emergence and weed control. At the same time, we can feed your grass to make sure it wins the battle and keep it lush and growing all season long. Regular visits from the lawn doctor will help your lawn be healthier and pest-free.
Fertilizer, weed, and pest control. Call Chad Norton, the lawn doctor, at 753-LAWN. Follow them on Facebook or go to LawnDoctorCacheValley.com.
Malignant rhabdoid tumor on the spine. They send us straight to St. Jude. My hope was gone. But when you get there, everyone's like, hey, we're not going to give up. And when you see other people not giving up on your child, that makes all the difference in the world. When I found out I didn't have to pay, I was just grateful. They saved my baby's life.
Finding cures, saving children. Learn more at stjude.org.
More than 80 million Americans depend on AM radio for their news, weather, sports, and a community connection. It's the backbone of the emergency alert system It's critical that we keep AM radio in cars because when cell and internet services are down, this free emergency service could be your only lifeline. Text AM to 52886 and tell Congress we need AM radio in cars.
Message and data rates may apply. You may receive up to 4 messages a month, and you may text STOP to stop.
This message furnished by the National Association of Broadcasters.
This is Sheriff Chad Jensen. OHVs are a lot of fun, but they also come with a lot of responsibility. Please make sure you are familiar with Utah State Code as well as your local ordinances before you head onto the roadways or head up into the canyons. You may notice more deputies in the canyon areas. Our traffic unit will be out ensuring that everyone is following regulations. We want everyone to be safe, have fun, share the roads, share the canyons, and share the trails. Check out our Facebook page for some helpful links to find Utah OHV State Code as well as many of our local city ordinances.
Hi, this is Gordon Deal. Tuesday on This Morning, America's First News, tracking movements in Congress as lawmakers race to pass President Trump's tax and spending bill by this Friday's deadline. Also, more Americans in the top 10% of earners say making $250,000 a year doesn't feel like enough. Here are the reasons why. And what it will cost you to celebrate the 4th of July this weekend. Tuesday on This Morning, America's First News. From 4 to 6 on News Talk KVNU, 610 AM and 102 FM. Your station for news and talk.
A little more from Lit, one of the headliners for Thursday night's Cache Valley Cruise In concert. Tickets available at CVCA, Cache Valley Cruise Association, CVCAcruisein.com. You can get tickets to see Lit and Fuel Thursday night. And this year at the Cruise In, they're giving away a 2001 Chrysler Prowler, which a lot of folks might not immediately be able to recall what that car looks like. Google it. It's a cool-looking car. So that's the big prize this year. You can get tickets to both the car show itself or the concert, which gets you into the car show as well, that same day at CVCAcruisein.com. And I've linked to that on our Facebook page. All right. That is our show for today. That's the time we have for today, at least. And I want to invite everyone to be sure to make time for tomorrow's show because we have interesting developments at the federal level, obviously, with the debate over the big, beautiful bill still raging on and Senate Republicans trying desperately to meet a self-imposed July 4th deadline for a vote to send this into the reconciliation process, which will take another month or two before they have anything to send to the president to sign. And we have Senators John Curtis and Senator Mike Lee introducing opposing amendments. Two senators from the same state with contradicting amendments proposed to the big, beautiful bill in regards to subsidies or incentives for green energy. We'll talk about that tomorrow and how this might or might not get resolved or might not sink the bill. Wouldn't that be interesting? That's tomorrow on the program. Dave Ramsey.